Yeah, I mean, what a summer for Sunderland. Absolutely incredible summer, really, in terms of how it's gone. You know, they finished last season on a real. Well, they finished the last game of last season on a real high, but they finished last season generally in a bit of a slump. They lose Jordan Henderson at the start of the transfer window, and Sunderland fans are starting to think, well, you know, is Ellis Short fed up with everything here? Has he given up? Is there a question mark of have we had our chance? Then suddenly 9 players come in, or 10, including James McLean now, and you're saying that this is probably, in terms of overall, maybe hasn't got the one-star name that they had in Darren Bennelson. It's probably the strongest Sunderland squad in Premier League history. And now they've got to be looking at better in last season's 10th. They've got to be looking at there's no excuses for Steve Bruce this season. He's been back to the hilt. He's been given all of the money from the Jordan Henderson, Darren Bent sales to go in. These are his players now. He's brought in guys who he's put a lot of weight in long contracts for experienced players. It's now or never for Steve Bruce, I think, and you've got to be looking at challenging the top 10.
Well, you look at the teams who finished around Sunderland last year, the likes of Everton, Bolton's, Newcastle. Sunderland have way outstripped their investment this summer. And to be fair, Bruce, he's not taking many gambles.
No.
But he has brought genuine quality to the team. Whether it's enough to kick them on, is yet to be seen. I think it possibly could be, to be honest.
I think the one thing I've looked at, I went over to Germany with Sunderland and was impressed with what I saw. Impressed with the team spirit. Really impressed with Steve Bruce as a bloke. He's just obviously a really a really likeable kind of character who kind of balances the two arts of management really well. My one concern with Sunderland, or in fact 2 concerns, but they're sort of the same thing, is that there's not a lot of pace in the squad, and that they haven't got a left-sided player, and that is my problem. There's no width in terms of the left side. He wanted Charles Nzogbia, hasn't got him. Who are you going to play on the left instead? Jack Colback, but he's not left-sided. David Vaughan, he's not left-sided. Kieran Richardson, well, he's probably going to be left-back. And even then, does he score enough goals? That is my one concern with Sunderland. But, you're talking about nitpicking at one thing, really, and saying, that is the one area of concern. But that might be what stops them from finishing, challenging for you.
Have they got enough goals in them?
That's the other question, Mark. I've got to be honest with you, I'm yet to be convinced about Asamoah Gyan. I know he scored 11 goals in 20 games, but I saw him at Birmingham last season, and I've got to be honest with you, it was probably the worst performance of any individual that I saw last season. He was just atrocious, and it was like the problem was everything was going against Sunderland at the time. They were really struggling. They'd conceded a couple of soft goals on that day, and he just looked as if he'd given up. And I just thought, I don't fancy that. I really don't. I'm not sure about that. But then he came back on and he did really well at the end of the season. And he's clearly got talent.
Oh, undoubtedly.
But goals are going to be the problem. They need Stefan Sessegnon to kind of step up. GD Wong is fine. He's a good player. Connor Wickham looks okay, looks good, but those guys, you're not going to rely on them and say you put your hat on them scoring 10 goals.
It's a big ask for Connor Wickham to step up straight away.
Huge, and that's the reason why with the greatest respect, Connor Wickham didn't go to a Manchester United, because I think people know that he maybe needs a bit of time, and he'll get that time at Sunderland. He won't get the pressure that he would necessarily get elsewhere. But he looks like a good player. I mean, as does quite a few of the other guys. I think the big thing for me with Sunderland, the big difference that they're going to have this season, which they didn't have last season, was a bit of threat from midfield. They're going to have Seb Larsson taking fantastic dead balls, which they've not had anybody doing that really before. They've got Craig Gardner, who shoots from 20-30 yards and looks like he can score. They haven't had that. Lee Cattamore's not going to score many goals. Jordan Henderson scored 2 goals in 2 seasons, which was not good enough really. So that's the one thing that maybe they've got that's a little bit different.
And you think they've got the strength to cope with the injury crises that they've had in recent years, which sort of preeminated the slumps which they had at the second half of the season.
Exactly. So do you think they can go better than the 10th that they got?
I think they can. I have no reason why, because looking at last year, I didn't see any reason why Newcastle or Sunderland couldn't have finished higher than they did. I don't think that the teams outside the top, 5 or 6, are anything to write home about, and I think Sunderland have strengthened a lot more wisely than any other team of that group.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they'll finish 10th again actually, and I think they will have a bit of a run in one of the cups. But without the slump, it will feel like progress, I think, for Sunderland, and then they'll move on next season, possibly with 1 or 2 additions. So I think reasonably optimistic.